made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by the Transact Card, Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Mobiles, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 530 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Philip Rodger. And if you want to hear a story about how chiropractic and animal chiropractic is the funnest thing that this guy's ever done, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Philip Rodger on with me, coming in from Florida, Central Florida, and I'm out here in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. And, you know, today's episode is episode 530. We're going to cover animal chiropractic. I think it's something that a lot of people are curious about, and I've had like a snapshot into animal chiropractic world for the past several years, so I'm really interested to have this conversation today. But before we jump into this episode, I just want to let everybody know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is the First Amendment. That is freedom of speech. We've never censored anyone, and we know what it's like to be on the receiving end of censorship. So I do believe that there's a big message for chiropractic, and this platform keeps free speech alive and well. On top of that, we also believe in family health freedom and medical freedom. Over the past couple of years, people have been inundated with scare and fear about what to do for themselves, their patients, and you know, just living the chiropractic lifestyle has given me a lot of leverage, knowing what to do and making healthy choices for myself. So this show supports medical freedom, family health freedom. And then we get into the chiropractic philosophy part of the show. And we do support BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust and protect that. So if you don't know what that means, go to your favorite search engine right now and go find out what BJ Palmer's last words are, or BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever knew before. I guarantee you. And then there's this big word in chiropractic called subluxation. We support subluxation in the lexicon, in the languaging of chiropractic, and in the practice of chiropractic offices. And then lastly, but not least, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that man or woman, the physical, when they get adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And we'll just say that for animals too. When we adjust an animal, it connects the physical body of the animal to the spiritual body of the animal. And animals can't talk. So it's really interesting that we're going to have this conversation today on animal chiropractic. And with that being said, Dr. Philip, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time coming. Really excited to have you on today for episode 530 and to tell your story. And I know a lot of people have been following your journey over the past couple of years, and it's really a perseverance story. But I think, you know, just today, I'm really curious to hear about how you got into chiropractic and how you got to the point where you are today.
Yeah. So originally what got me into chiropractic, when I was in undergrad, I originally thought I wanted to be like a medical doctor or a surgeon. And then as I got farther into undergrad, one of my family members, my uncle, he had a real problem with not only prescription, but, you know, street drugs too. But his medical doctor was literally just like a glorified drug dealer. And after seeing what happened on that side of the medical profession, I just decided I didn't want to be a part of that. Found chiropractic. And as funny as it is, I applied to chiropractic school, got in, and at that point I said I should probably get adjusted because I'd never been to a chiropractor myself before. But then I got into chiropractic school, absolutely loved it. I had been practicing chiropractic on humans for the first 7 years of my career. And then in February of 2021, my wife, who has been doing chiropractic for animal chiropractic as long as she's been licensed, we decided that it was time to send me to animal chiropractic school. And so I finished that in August of 2021. And ever since then, we've been going full on with animal chiropractic. We sold our human office that we had in February of 2022. So we've had our first full year doing mostly just animal chiropractic. Last year, we did about 80% animals. This year, it's looking like we're going to be 90% animals. And it's been the funnest change that I've ever made. Out of the office, all we do is make house visits. It's been such a blessing to be able to see all the different areas and just help animals, because the coolest thing for me about animal chiropractic is there is zero placebo effect. If it's a chiropractic problem, this is going to work.
Yeah, so this is really exciting opportunity for us to just talk about this, but like, how have you grown your animal chiropractic practice? And did you network with vets? Did you network with like animal shelters? Like, what did you do to get to where you are?
So a lot of what we did, it was just kind of initially social media stuff. I mean, initially when we moved here from Colorado, to get clients, we went to, and still do on weekends, we go to a lot of dog shows. So we go to the agility competitions where they do the jumps and the weave poles and the tunnels. You've probably seen it on TV, the Westminster Dog Show or AKC Nationals. That's what we do from October to May. Pretty much every weekend we're at a dog show. And so we've used that to build a lot of clients. And then from there, specifically with the horses, we did a lot of cold calling and just networking with barns, farms, veterinary offices, and then getting referrals that way to grow the equine side of the business. And it's been, sometimes I honestly don't know how people find us. They just search us on Google. We've used a few other little platforms, like a place called PetWorks. They've got us listed. It's just a way to find pet providers. So we're listed there, but mostly it's just organic, just making relationships and getting referrals.
So man's best friend, you've had a lot of interactions with dogs. Tell me about, like, what is it like when you start taking care of a dog? What's that look like to the owner? What's it look like to the animal itself?
So a lot of the owners and the animals especially love what we do because we come to the house. So there's no loading up in the car, going to a non-familiar place, non-familiar smells and sounds. So usually everyone's pretty calm. If the dog has never been adjusted before, usually the first visit, you can tell they're a little sus. Like, what are you doing? You're touching me in a different way than I've ever been touched before. And at the end of the adjustment, we always give them lots of cookies. So I always tell the dogs and the owners, my goal is to be known as the cookie man. When I show up at the house, I want the dogs super excited to see me because they're thinking they're getting cookies. And usually when we come back for the second visit, if the dog was a little skittish or shy on the initial visit, that is completely gone. And they just absolutely love. I can't tell you how many clients I have that they tell me when I come to the house, they're like, I just hope you know my dog doesn't act like this for anybody, not even me. They only act like this for you.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And so you build relationships with the dog owners, and then they tell their friends about you, I take it?
That's a lot of it, because most dog people also have friends that are dog people. And so when they see something struggling or they've been dealing with an issue, they'll ask what they've done and then say, hey, well, we've got the chiropractor that comes to the house. I know it sounds crazy, but it works. And honestly, the most common thing when people sit, they're like, I never knew that animal chiropractic was a thing. That's the most common thing we hear when we tell people that we do animal chiropractic.
So let's talk about like the transition into the equine world. What's that look like? And what's that look like for the owners of the horses? And what's that look like for you being a practitioner?
So the biggest thing for us, and I mean, most equine businesses, you're going to make visits to them. But like for us, when we come to like all the time I get questions like they'll say, oh, I wish you could adjust me while I'm here too. And lucky for them, I'm not a veterinarian, I'm a chiropractor. So I can not only adjust the horses, but I can adjust them. And when they realize the amount of time savings we can provide them by getting everything done there, they don't have to leave the barn, go to the chiropractor, come back. just the time savings, convenience for them is just out of this world. But with the horses, we use these really big styrofoam. It's about the size of like a small hay bale. We have 2 of those that we set up on the horse to stand up to get above the spine to adjust them while they're standing. And a lot of times, especially if it's a horse that's never been adjusted before, we're going to put the block in front of them, move it, make some sound so that they realize it's not going to try to eat them, because horses, as a prey animal, they think everything's trying to eat them and kill them. And so it's just making sure desensitizing them to that at first. But a lot of times horses, like dogs, if they've never been adjusted before, they're going to be really kind of uneasy about what you're doing. They'll move away. So then you got to get down from the blocks, move them closer, get back up. You'll get the job done. But when you come back, the horses are always like, oh, I remember this guy. He made me feel great. And they're just ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Is it's all about performance.
It is. And the biggest thing, like with animals, is like you said earlier, because they can't tell you what's going on. You really have to be intuitive with your emotional language to be able to read their body language and see what's going on. What are they feeling? Is this good? Is this where it hurts? Because I mean, with dogs, you got the sharp end at the front. With horses, you got the clubs at the back that can get you. So you really got to pay attention to body language and their emotional intelligence and what they're telling you, because they can't use words.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most profound part about the care, because I kind of liken it to the same as taking care of babies. Is, they don't talk either, obviously, and they haven't developed those skill sets yet. But when a chiropractor adjusts a baby, it's very gentle, it's low force, it's careful, it's specific. But the baby can't tell you where their hip is out of alignment, why they're not pooping,
right?
And they can't tell you why they have colic and can't latch because they have torticollis.
Yep. And the baby also can't tell you afterwards, oh yeah, that was really great, that and lie. There's no placebo effect with the babies either. If it's a chiropractic problem, it will work. Yeah,
and that's the thing. And I think that's a part too that we should probably touch on, is like the certification. I know chiropractors are like famous for postgraduate, like extra certifications. Tell me about the options, the group that you studied with, and what it was like to become an animal chiropractor after you went through 7 years of becoming a human chiropractor.
Yeah. So the university that both my wife and I went to is called Options for Animals in Wellsville, Kansas. And all of the animal chiropractic, there's several schools in the United States. There's ACES in Parker in Texas. There's Healing Oasis in Wisconsin. I believe there's another one in Oklahoma. And then there's Options in Kansas. And so the certification, it's a 210-hour certification course. Now, luckily for us as being a chiropractor, we don't have to do a whole lot of learning how to do the adjustments and develop touch as far as palpation. All of the veterinarians that come there to do it, that's where they struggle the most. But it's really the biggest, most profound thing is just learning the differences between all of the different spines, knowing the different joint angles. Because initially when Angela and I first started dating, I didn't realize that dogs had different numbers of vertebra in their spine than us. I just assumed we were all the same. The one thing, however, that's really cool, across all but 2 animal species, everyone has 7 bones in your neck, except for manatees and 3-toed sloths. They have 6. Otherwise, you got to know for sure what you're doing with the thoracic and lumbar, because they're different in every species.
So how do you adjust a horse?
So adjusting a horse, like I was saying with those bales, like you stand up on them, and then
is it like hands on?
Yeah, you're still like a reinforced isoform. You're using your hands. The most, for me at least, kind of scary part is when you're working on the feet, because I did have an instance a few months ago where if the horse would have stood on his foot, I would have easily lost a toe, because he didn't put his foot where I thought he would, and he put the tip of his hoof right on my big toe on my right foot, and luckily we got him to pick his foot up. But you can get some interesting things when you're working on horses' legs, but
I
the rest of
figured.
the spine is good. You're on those bales, adjusting the thoracic and the lumbar. And then when you adjust the neck, you're on the ground. You have their head on your shoulder a lot. It's because most people, when they think, how do you adjust a horse? They're thinking, do you roll them on their back? Like, no, they're standing throughout the whole process. And the other thing that most people, like, they assume when we're coming for like a dog or a horse, they're waiting to hear the crack that we get when we get adjusted. But more times than not, in animals, you don't get that. Some of the extremities will go, and when the animals are older, you can get some stuff to crack, but you usually don't hear that in animals.
So I just out of my own curiosity, what's bitten you?
So I have been, like, I wouldn't necessarily say full-blown bit by a horse, but I've what I would call a love nibble, which I almost would rather a bite, because they just will get this tiny little pinch of skin on your shoulder or your arm just in between their front teeth, and it hurts. So you'll get a decent bruise from it. But then a Chihuahua that had 3 teeth had gotten me one time. It didn't do anything, just basically gummed me. And then there was one time on a dog where I hit a sore spot in her neck, and she popped up into my mouth, and her teeth hit my teeth. No blood, but she did chip a tooth a little bit. That's the worst that's happened so far.
So if other people were curious about getting into animal chiropractic, what advice would you give to them?
I would don't go to like YouTube or Facebook and watch videos. A lot of the stuff you see online is not chiropractic. It's flashy. They get tons of stuff to crack and pop, but what they're doing is not chiropractic. I would look into the different universities, because like I said, there's ones in Options, Texas, or there's Kansas, Texas, Minnesota, Oklahoma, I believe, has something. But just reach out. I mean, and if there's someone in your area, see if you can shadow them, because it's really different. Everyone practices differently. Like, I mean, I've got friends in Illinois that they have physical office locations. They bring the animals into them. That's not what we do. We make house visits. We've got an intern with us right now, and it was just the funnest thing so far was after the first morning of her interning with us, she looks at me and she says, "Is this really what you do all day?" I'm like, yeah, I drive around to houses. I play with dogs and horses, get them better with adjustments, and this pays all of our bills. Like, it's the funnest job I've ever had.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Transact Card, Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle. That's cool. So I guess my curiosity goes a little bit further. And does somebody have to be either coming from the background of chiropractic, or do they have to come from the background of veterinarian in order to do animal chiropractic?
Yes. In order to be a certified animal chiropractor, which is what my wife and myself are, the only 2 ways to be a certified animal chiropractor is either to be a chiropractor first or a veterinarian first. There are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that do some form of manipulation and call what they do chiropractic, but really they are not chiropractors. So that would be the biggest thing, especially if people are looking into finding a chiropractor for their animals, is make sure they have a certification through either. The two gold standard certification groups are the American Chiropractic Association. Their website is animalchiropractic.org. Or the International Veterinary Chiropractic Association, and their website is ivca.de. That's where you will find people that know exactly what they're doing. There is another, like just north of us here in Florida, in Reddick, there's an institution called the Chi Institute, and they do teach chiropractic there as well. I don't know if they send their students to the IVCA or AVCA to get a certification there, but they only train veterinarians. They won't train chiropractors.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a really interesting world to get a snapshot into. Let's go a little bit deeper. A daily process, like a Monday through Friday schedule. What's a day in the life look like for you?
So a day in the life of me, Tuesdays are my day off. That's why I'm able to do something like this with you today. And then basically Mondays, so we live in Ocala. On Mondays, we travel to Jacksonville. And part of that is because that's where our human office was. So we developed a good client base up there initially. So we're in Jacksonville every Monday, and then every other Tuesday is when Angela goes. And like yesterday, for example, my first appointment in Jacksonville was at 8 o'clock. It's about a 2-hour drive to Jacksonville. So we left the house at 5:30 in the morning, and pretty much every half hour we had another house to go to. We schedule 30-minute appointments, and I assume most times it's going to be a 30-minute drive from one house to the next. And then last night we got home at about 8 o'clock. So Mondays are the worst, but then as far as like being gone for working long days, but then Wednesdays and Thursdays, usually I start my day at 9 a.m. I'm home by 6. So typical work day, driving around, doing horses and dogs. We do a lot more horses in Ocala than we do Jacksonville. And then, so that's Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we work dog shows. Just this last weekend, I was down south in Punta Gorda, so just an hour north of Naples, and working at a dog show there. We go on the east coast of Florida to Fort Pierce. We do shows in Ocala, in Jacksonville. We're working on getting licenses in other states to go to events in other areas. But that's a typical work week: is house calls Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, dog show Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and try to relax a bit on Tuesday.
So would you consider what you do a high volume style practice?
No.
Or?
On average, we do like maybe 10 to 15 appointments a day.
Okay.
And
wow.
we could see more than that, because especially if it's a day that's heavy with horses, because most of the places we go to adjust a dog, most houses we stop at, we adjust one dog. But there's several barns that we go to where you'll adjust anywhere from 3 to 7 horses at one stop. So on days like that, where you're heavy on horses, it can be more of like a quote unquote high volume day. But I think the most I've ever done in one day was 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So going to barns, how do you organize that with like all the individual like horse owners? Or is it like one person like owns all the horses?
So the easiest way is just to coordinate with the barn managers, because the barn managers have every single boarder's contact information. And so if you just let the manager know, hey, I'm thinking of coming here this time, they will typically send a message out to everyone that boards and say, hey, the chiropractor is going to be here this day. Who wants their horse done?
So really you have the barn manager is your advocate. They're the chiropractic advocate.
Exactly. The barn managers are the advocate, because they, tell everyone else they're here. If you want them, it's now. Otherwise, you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks when they hit us back up again.
Well, that's cool, man. That's a really neat network that you built.
Yep.
I think that it probably is a lot of fun.
It really is a lot of fun. I mean, the thing with animals is they're not whining and complaining about their job or their spouse or their kids or anything else. All they want to do is give you, most of the time, 95% of the time, give you kisses, give you lugs, waggy butts, and it's fun. It just takes away so much stress.
Mm-hmm. So where do you see the animal chiropractic profession moving towards?
So I think it is becoming much more widely known, because in the grand scheme of things, animal chiropractic, the way that we do it now, it's a very, very new profession. It's much newer than human chiropractic. So I think as more and more people become aware that chiropractic for animals is a thing, I think it's going to be much more commonplace. I also find, not to badmouth veterinarians or anything, but I see a lot of veterinary medicine going the same way as modern medicine for people, where a lot of times when the animals come in, their initial reaction is painkiller, muscle relaxant, anti-inflammatory. Maybe they'll throw in some prednisone, see if this works. And if it doesn't, then they try something else, where with the chiropractic, it just works.
It wouldn't quite be a podcast on animal chiropractic without a few barking episodes in the background.
Yes, that's the dogs barking. Sorry about that. I think someone's dropping off something at the house.
They're coming to get adjusted.
Yeah, right.
Hey, get off the interview. I'm ready to get adjusted.
Yeah.
So let's talk heroes and people that have had influence on your career and helped you get to where you are today. Like, who are some of the people who have had some impact on you?
I mean, the biggest one is honestly my wife, because honestly, without her, I never would have thought I would go into doing animal chiropractic. I initially, when I got out of chiropractic school, I wanted to do like a pediatric family-based office. And then, we did just a lot of stuff happened, went a different route with a lot of things. And so without her, I never would have done this. And I had 7 years of shadowing her basically at all the dog shows and her appointments to learn from, to build my knowledge before doing it myself. The other people that I do look up to, I do look up to like Erin O'Connor in Illinois. She has a really phenomenal practice and does really well. She's got a lot of cool other animal based businesses. Karen Hanna, she does a lot of really great stuff with all of her animal chiropractic continuing education courses that she does. So she's a huge advocate for the animal chiropractic world. So those are, outside of my wife being number one, those are probably my next two. And then like another person just outside of the chiropractic world itself, who we were talking about earlier, is, Tristan Schaub, because he is been a huge advocate, talking about animal chiropractors, doing a lot of stuff with Karen. And so those are four of the top people that I'd probably say, as far as influencing for animal chiropractic in particular.
That's I love it that, there's people out there that are doing this the right way, and they're teaching people how to do this the right way. I'm just curious, is it cash or is it insurance, or how do people pay for this?
Yeah, so with us, it's all cash. They just pay. We take cash, check, charge, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. We've even have it set up. We've never had anyone actually pay with it yet, but if they wanted to pay us in Bitcoin, they could pay us in Bitcoin. We're set up to do that as well. Now there is pet insurance does cover chiropractic care. So in instances like that, all we have to do is send the clients a copy of the invoice and then a copy of the notes, and then they submit it to the insurance, and then the insurance reimburses them. Sometimes we run into issues where the insurance company will say, oh, well, they're a chiropractor, not a veterinarian, so they won't cover it. But most times they do.
Yeah. So do you, I know I just was talking to somebody out in California about protecting chiropractors' rights to practice animal chiropractic without a referral from a vet. How is that in Florida?
So in Florida, we do need to have like a veterinary referral. Now we don't call our form a veterinary referral form. We call it a veterinary authorization form, and we explain it to our clients. It's similar to like if you wanted to go have a procedure done from a specialist through your insurance, you would need authorization from your primary care provider. That's all we're looking for, is authorization from your primary care provider that says, yep, they're cool to go be adjusted. They sign the form for us. And 99 times out of 100 lately, it's pretty painless. Every once in a while, we have a veterinarian that will refuse to sign the form for whatever reason. We had issues with our original form, so we had to have it redrafted from an attorney to make sure it was very crystal clear what we do, what we don't do, that we have malpractice insurance and are covered, because sometimes they thought they were released, like if something happened to the animal, the vet would be in trouble instead of us. But it's usually pretty painless. The one thing that's very interesting is I find, and I'm sure I would assume it's like this in other states, but at least here in Florida, we get a lot more pushback from small animal veterinarians than we do the large animal vets. Most large animal vets are like, why do I have to sign this? Because the state says I have to. Like,
yeah, hopefully we can get to the point where that's not necessary across.
Yeah, if we could get all states like Colorado there, whereas as long as you're certified animal chiropractor, you have access to dogs, horses, and cats, I believe, without the need of a referral. Anything outside of that, I do believe you do need a referral in Colorado yet. But I'm hoping, as far as the cats go, I have a client who has some big cats, and I know one of them is pregnant, and so I'm hoping soon I'll be able to adjust some tiger cubs.
Super cool, man. Well, we got to get you a TV show or something.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be really fun.
Have people travel around with you and go in a day in the life of
Of
Dr.
an animal
Phil.
chiropractor.
Yeah, and look at all the cases that you take and how you take care of pets and how you take care of performance athlete animals.
Yep.
And I think that's a cool thing too, is you get a chance to see the full spectrum. You get
Yes.
a chance to see the lap dog all the way to, like you said, the Westminster performance pet.
Yeah, we've got some very high performance animals that we treat that win national championships, compete internationally. One of the funnest shows that we do is in November. It's called the UKI US Open. UKI is just a brand of dog agility, but that US Open, there are hundreds, almost thousands of dogs. I mean, and when you hear the competitions and the people cheering, like the first time I was there, I was like, is this like a national sports event? Like the cheering it was just wild. And it's so fun and exciting. And you just see so many different dogs. But yeah, we see everything from puppies. Like the youngest dog I've adjusted was 3 weeks. The oldest we've worked on is 18. So we see everything.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. So let's close people out with like a really cool miracle story that you've seen while taking care of animals.
So the coolest one I had was there was this beagle I was working on. His name was Obi. And when we first started, he had a cervical disc issue that was very painful for him. I mean, I remember vividly the first visit with him. I almost started crying on the floor with the dog because he was clearly in so much pain. In his case, it did take probably 4 to 6 visits. But I remember the time I came back, he always kept Obi in his bedroom. And then when I showed up, he opens the door, Obi runs out, jumps up on me, licking, barking. And I was just like, when did this happen? And he's like, oh, this happened like 2 days after the last adjustment. I'm like, you didn't tell me? And so literally we saved this dog's life because he was at the point that he was getting ready to put him down. And because we were able to get this corrected for him, he was able to live a much longer life. Now, unfortunately, in that case, Obi did end up later on developing cancer, ended up passing away, and he was fairly young yet. But without us, he would have been out of the picture 2 years prior.
Yeah, a lot of times people don't understand that chiropractic adds years to life and life to years.
Yep.
And
we get so many times, especially the geriatric patients, the really old dogs, where people are like, we've tried everything. You're our last resort. If you cannot help us, we're going to put them down. And we get them so much more time with their animals.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's just locked up SI joints in the hips, I'm sure, or like a couple of paws.
Between the shoulders.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. And they just kind of like don't have any mobility. And when something doesn't have mobility, it doesn't know how to have vitality. So you're really restoring the vitality back to people's pets' lives or their performance animals' lives, which I think is pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, is there anything we didn't touch on that you would like to discuss today before we call it a day?
No, I think we hit everything. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just animal chiropractic is the funnest thing I've ever done. That's the one thing I love. When I wake up every single day, I don't dread going to work because I get to see so many cool animals and just help people and animals just get back to being themselves.
Well, I like that a lot. And I thank you so much for being episode 530 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. If people want to connect with you or learn more about you, where can we send them to?
You can just go to our website. Our website's called Synchrony Chiro. So it's SYNCHRONYCHIRO.com. There you can find our contact information. Shoot us a text, email. I guarantee you, if not myself directly, my assistant Pamela, someone would get back to you within 24 hours. And we'll see what we can do for you, whether it's helping you out here in Florida or finding you a referral in another state. We've done that for a lot of people too.
Well, great. If you guys are in Central Florida looking for an animal chiropractor, you guys got the guy right here.
That's right.
Appreciate you being on with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and close up by telling everyone you're just one story away. Keep hustling. Thanks for the interview today, Dr. Phil.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
All right. Talk soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.